music there. That's always nice. So first of all, thank you both for being here today. And I thought we'd just start by, if you could just quickly, in 2 or 3 minutes, share your quick story that sort of led you to the product that you're now building and here to talk about, just to give some context to everyone. And Jane, maybe we'll start with you.
Yeah, sure. So my name is Jane Dhulchaointigh. I'm a designer and inventor of Sugru, which is basically designed to inspire a new generation to fix things and mend things and patch things and hack things better. And I started out as a designer studying product design and kind of realizing that I wasn't a very good product designer, A, and B, that actually, I think I kind of landed on the idea that actually, what if it isn't me that's the creative person, but what if I was able to do something that could somehow spark that creativity that is in everyone, because I think there's just a huge amount of dormant creativity in the world, and we are innately creative, and we've been solving problems for 50,000 years, and I think just in the last generation or two, we've maybe got out of the habit of being hands-on and solving our own problems and thinking that everything can be bought. So Sugru is, it's like Play-Doh, and then sticks to anything, and it turns into rubber. It's some kind of magic stuff for doing things. And the whole way that we've brought it to life is really about I guess, inspiring people on the multiple things that they can do with it that unlocks their creativity, and then building a community and an online culture where people share their uses on social media and inspire other people to have a go as well. So we've got about 1 million users around the world now in 160 countries, and yeah, just like it's amazing. I think somebody shares a Sugru project once every 3 hours somewhere in the world. So it's becoming something of a kind of practical creativity culture in itself. And yeah, that's it.
And Jane, if I could just ask you on the spot, what's the most surprising use of Sugru you have ever seen?
Well, there's actually a retired engineer in Cork that his daughter sent us a picture of one of his chickens, which had gotten attacked by a fox and lost one of its legs. And he had made a prosthetic leg for his chicken out of epoxy and Sugru, and it was walking around great. So I love that sort of thing, and it kind of brings out that, I guess, diversity of the human race and just how weird and wonderful the world is.
Wonderful. Well, we'll talk more about that. Meghan, please.
I've used Sugru to repair the thing that I made several times. So the toy that we invented was inspired by interactive projection software that we launched in 2011. So if you've ever seen those fish ponds projected on the floor in malls and stuff like that react when people walk over them, most of the time that's our software. And we noticed that children were constantly playing on it and really attracted to it. And at the same time, most of the people that work at my company are parents, and a lot of them are parents of very young children, and they were starting to get really concerned about the amount of time that kids are spending in front of screens. So we thought, well, why not take this software platform that we've developed for retail and put it into a toy? And instead of having tools so that advertisers can build things, why not make a software platform so kids can make their own games, project them on the floor, play by actually moving around, make their toys react to the projections so they can bring their toys to life with projection. So that's basically like we came to it through making an advertising platform, realizing that it was really compelling to children, and then just kind of like figuring out a way to make it accessible to parents and schools and teachers and stuff.
Wonderful. And so now it is actually a device that people get install and.
Yeah, we successfully crowdfunded it earlier this year. We're just about to get the dev kits out. And it's about this big, and it has a projector and a computer and a camera all built into it. And an online platform for making your own games that's sort of inspired by systems like Scratch, except more sort of scaled back so that children as young as 5 to 7 can make their own content for it.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
I mean, I think the theme of today, of course, is the importance of design and the growing importance of design in business and in solving problems and of course, you're both making tools that just help people unlock their own potential as designers and probably help develop from a very young age. I'm curious, in the age of video games and Internet of Things toys and all this different stuff, what is the role of hands-on or lo-fi things that children and adults can play with just to kind of to help develop their capacity as designers?
Do you want to go first? Because your stuff keeps my stuff working a lot of the time.
By the way, that's unplanned. That's a great symbiotic relationship there.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I think it's a great question. I think we should also challenge ourselves back just in a way in terms of, I think, we might think that, it's particularly relevant today, but, I think the same questions were coming up probably at all different phases in history. And, I think in a digital age, maybe it's a little like in the industrial age when people started, like arts and crafts movement, whatever, started coming back. So I think when there's a dominant culture that is one way in terms of like standardization or something, then, people start talking about craft and using your hands and stuff. What we hear from our community is like, it's a lot about basically they spend all day every day in an intangible world where work is like all on a computer, it's all internet or whatever, and people just want to use their hands. There's something about basically like having something to show for yourself. So in terms of like Sugru, they'll use it for fixing things or like making and stuff with their kids and things. But I mean, a lot of the same people will be baking, it's like the same thing with the Great British Bake Off, whatever, being the most popular show last year in the UK, you know what I mean? Like selling out the whole country out of eggs. Yeah, I think it is just about kind of like, just having something to show for yourself and having a sort of sense of not just being a consumer as well. I think that's a big thing that people really want to feel like producers, and if we're not producing stuff in our work, maybe we want to do that at home.
There's something about the tangibility and seeing this physical outcome.
I think so.
Yeah, and I think from a practical standpoint, there's research coming out now that validates the long-held suspicion that screen time for children is having a damaging effect on their development, especially socially. So, you've got kids that are sitting and playing games. Even if they're playing together, they're still looking at a screen and not really like at each other. And there's something about bringing tangible lo-fi experiences back into the digital age that I think is really, really important if we're going to help children develop. I don't really believe in normally, but help them develop as widely and empathetically as we can sort of support. And there's also something to what you were saying in terms of like actually feeling like you accomplished something. If you don't have tangible output to what you're doing, it's really easy to feel like you're not contributing to the world. And like as a software developer, I'm particularly sensitive to that. There's like definitely days that I go home and there's not like a physical output to what I just did. And I think with kids are natural creators. And so if you give them even something like a software platform or a game development tool where they can actually share the experience physically with other people, there's something incredibly satisfying and motivating that helps them sort of further their curiosity and education into understanding things like how computers work, which is, I think, a really important thing for children to understand.
Yeah, I agree. Well, it's I think that what the work you're doing is obviously important for children and for adults. So you both make a product that has expected and unexpected uses. And I'm wondering what the role of kind of hackability is in enhancing creativity. How important is it that you kind of set your customers up to not only use it as they think they should, but potentially in ways that they never even imagined?
Yeah, I mean, for us, I think, when I started out with Sugru,
something I learned really, really early on was that the material would only ever be like half the story, if that. And so the way it's kind of packaged up with the inspiration and the basically design work around it, that is about the tone of voice, the kind of images and story we tell around it, is the thing that is going to unlock those parts of people's brains that is the creativity that is somehow dormant. And so I think, say the question again.
No, like, you know, how
Oh, multiple uses.
Yeah.
And so, so first of all, the first way that I did that when I was prototyping Sugru was a little booklet. It was just like a little flick book of 100 uses, and people would basically flick through and something would kind of light up and they'd go, I know what it's going to do. And it was either something to do with like something that made them laugh in the book, or something that kind of reminded them, oh yeah, my door handle, that is kind of a bit wonky or whatever. So for us, like, it's a lot about basically getting people to inspire other people, and the multiple thing is both the kind of strongest thing about Sugru and its ultimate challenge as well, because it can be very daunting when you've got a product and you're like, oh, but I don't know what to do with it. But ultimately, since the purpose of it is about not just practical fixing, the purpose of it is about sort of nurturing this mindset, then the multiple use is actually the key to it, because people have got to see that it's not just like, say, if somebody buys Sugru just to fix their fridge, it's probably going to be a linear journey and they're going to end there. Mm-hmm. Whereas what we try and do is like, we can get them in that way, and then once they open the pack, they've got like lots of other suggested uses, and we're bringing them through a journey so they can see, oh right, and actually like I can repair toys as well, and if I can repair toys, or maybe I can hack a toy or whatever it is, and we'll bring them on a journey like that.
Do you think, just as a follow-up, and I want to hear from you, Meghan, as well, it's probably empowering for people to find a new use. And do you get a sense of the reward, or, you know, is part of what drives your community people being innovative? And
definitely, yeah. And I mean, even if it is just like, you do see a lot of people just kind of going like, I'm going to find that thing. And we try and encourage them to kind of like not be too ambitious about that, because of course, like, the longer we go on, the more things are done. Right. And so it's like, it's usually about kind of finding your twist on it, you know. So I think that's about like encouraging people to tell their story around it and what that means in their life. So for example, like, lots of people have fixed toys before, but it's really still worth sharing the fact that you've fixed Woody for your kid and what the situation was and how they reacted and stuff like that, because that will inspire other people to have a go at it.
So Meghan.
Yeah, I'm in favor of hackability for business reasons, because I can't possibly anticipate all the ways that my stuff is going to get used. So when we first put our projection software platform online, just sort of as a hardware agnostic software as a service thing, we, I think, launched with 7 effects, and then just tools so that people can make their own effects, and it taught us what people wanted. So I think that hackability has a benefit in that you kind of get a better sense of what you should be building and how you should be promoting and who you should be promoting to, and what kind of supports you need to build in. And then on top of that, yeah, there's like so much reward for people that are the first. I think that's one of the reasons that people like being early stage developers for new technologies, is they like to be the first people to use that technology to solve a problem. So enabling that is really important.
And I think it's, you know, it's doing something to the state of creativity. I mean, I remember when I used to buy you know, Lego boxes as a kid, and there would always be a picture of the thing that's done on the front of the box, you know, but I never actually made it. You know, I always just bought the Legos and did something else with them. And it's exciting that there are, you know, these new technologies and products where there's no ascribed picture that you're supposed to accomplish. It's like, open it and, you know, and find your own as an intent for the product versus a byproduct. I think both of you are sort of fostering that in your brands.
Yeah, it's like the Minecraft thing where you go into the world and then you make it your world. Right. I think what new technologies like this allow people to do is to modify the world around them in a way that's very unique to them.
So let's talk about Jane. First of all, I'm curious if Sugru was inspired by modeling clay, and do you think that there's this? Do you have a desire to kind of connect adults to their childhood at all with the product?
Yeah, it's a kind of weird one because it does look a bit like Play-Doh or whatever. It wasn't directly inspired by it, but at the same time, I think, at the time that I was inventing it, a lot of people are talking about 3D printing and, the power of that for like customization and mass customization. For me, it's like, yeah, that's all right, but you need so much technology and like so much skills to do that. Like we've got 3D printers, and like a piece of tape or some wire or whatever is going to be better in some cases. So for me, like, it's not so much about the material, although I think there is something like we've modeled and made things with our hands since forever. So for me, there was this just sort of almost metaphor of like what could be easier than clay in like a kind of Stone Age type creativity in a 21st century way of thinking about it. And I guess it is, ultimately, I think, Ken Robinson, the education I don't know what you call this guy, but anyway, whatever he is, talks about that idea of divergent thinking and convergent thinking, and he has one story about basically kids monitored at different ages about thinking about a paperclip and how many uses can you find for a paperclip, and it's something like when they're 5 or 7 or something, they've got like 200 uses for this paperclip, and they can just imagine anything, and then at 12, they might be down to like 25 or something. And it's like, as they grow up, they just think of less and less uses. And for me, there's something like that we kind of learn through our culture about like losing our confidence in our creativity. And if there are ways to kind of open that back up again, I think that's part of what this whole sort of open source movement, it's going to complement that, in that like the accessibility of technology paired with a kind of more open mindset and culture means that ideas and solutions for some of the biggest challenges could actually come from anywhere.
Meghan, when you think about the go-to-market for your product, first of all, are you focusing more on children than adults initially?
So we kind of like came at the children's market in sort of like a somersault way, where when we first developed the software, that's who we wanted to market it to. Like right off the hop, we were like, this is great for kids with autism. It's amazing for children that have sensory problems, but it turned out that was a really hard market to hit. So we sort of backflipped and went back to just marketing the software for advertisers. And now our focus is changing back to children because I think like we had to get exposure for the software. Like people had to see it in order for us to sell it to them. And then also they had to see the benefit of it. Because I think like consumers, particularly parents, are incredibly cautious about what they bring into the home for their children. And so we were really sort of challenged to find ways kind of to prove to them that this was actually a technology that was a benefit to them. But yeah, like we still kind of serve two markets. So we have the software platform that serves the advertising market, and then the toy is like completely facing parents and consumers.
Wonderful.
But as far as adults, like anyone can buy one of these things and like hack drinking games into it and stuff. So we do that at the office. That's just not, like we're not going to have to convince people in college dorms that this is going to be a fun thing to have. So.
Well, listen, I want to thank both of you for sharing your stories, joining me for this conversation, and just for the the role that both of your products are playing in just creative thinking. And making us realize, just how many more uses there are for, the things that we come across in our daily life. It definitely changes the way that we all think and hopefully design and solve the problems in our own lives. So thank you both for joining us.
Thanks, Scott.